I have decided to undertake my most difficult rebuild thus far, as I will be moving Southeastern Missouri from the FCS and moving them to Division 1. To make things even more difficult, I'll be moving them to the new look SEC, where their new in-state rival Missouri plays. To ensure that I complete this rebuild, I will need to complete these challenges throughout the course of the video. Let's just say that head coach Buster Biggs has some work cut out for him. And for some reason, I want to make this more difficult for myself, so I will not be allowed to recruit any players past 3 stars until I win a bowl game. It should also be mentioned that I will be playing on Heisman difficulty and using these realistic sliders. Now let's get this started. Now, it will be nice being able to recruit from whatever state that we want, but with us being a low-level team, it's going to be difficult finding talent that we actually want to bring into the school. After scouting our first round of recruits, we're going to be lucky to even get any 70 overall players, and thankfully we found a couple that are high 70s and even one 81 overall, but we still got to get the recruiting battle and win them first. And with our schedule looking like this, I am not confident. Now, with our roster starting off like this in the first year, with our best player being an 84 overall senior linebacker, it's no surprise that we're projected to be a bottom 10 team, especially with us coming into 75 overall, and it makes even more sense when you look at the teams that we're going to be playing every single year. Now, with this team needing every position known to man, it's going to be hard to pinpoint specific positions to focus on during the course of the recruiting season. So for these first couple years, we're just going to focus on getting a lot of players. And let's see how we do in our first game against Auburn, and it was actually, I'm honestly surprised we put up 27 points, but giving up 59 is no surprise. Now, I know we aren't going over the best of talent, but after simulating a couple weeks into this rebuild so far, we're actually leading on a lot of these players, including 81 overall JUCO Brett Horner. Now, it should be no surprise that through 3 games, we are 0-3, but with our easiest game of the schedule coming up next, this is our best chance to get a win, which means this is the best time for our recruits to come and visit our school. And with us only being able to play 3 games a season, I think this is a perfect game to jump into to start off things. Now, in real life, the Red Hawk Stadium looks like this, but since I'm using the Dynasty tool for college football revamp, this will be the stadium that we're using throughout the entirety of this rebuild. And with sophomore quarterback JC French trying to get the first win of the season, we're looking good in this first half, as we've been moving down the field pretty efficiently. And down at the goal line, we're going to give it to our star player OJ Arnold, who's going to get us up by multiple possessions. Late in the third, we find ourselves up by multiple possessions, and if we score a touchdown, which we're going to do, we're going to put this game out of reach. That's exactly what we were able to do as the Red Hawks cruise to their first win of the season. That win would help us get our first 2 recruits to commit, as we are still leading on a lot of our top prospects on our board. I think the only thing actually helping us stand out in recruiting is that our conference prestige is an A+ due to us being in the SEC. And after looking at some more recruits, we were able to find 78 overall JUCO Phil Rogers and 78 overall guard Michael Charles. Normally I don't like playing games back to back, but we have a chance to knock off one of our video challenges if we could beat Mizzou in this next game. So far this game has been a defensive showdown, as no team has scored throughout the first quarter, and that's going to end right here. From that point on, the game pretty much went exactly as you'd expected, as our offense has not been able to do much all game, and that's going to probably end it right there. That's a terrible way to end. It was a tough loss on the road, but I know we'll get Missouri at some point later on down the road, even if it takes a couple years. Outside of that game against our former FCS opponents, we have been absolutely destroyed in every single game this year, which is exactly what I expected. But there is some good news, as we've had some more players commit to our team, including 78 overall freshman Jamal Rucker and this JUCO 81 overall middle linebacker that'll start for us probably immediately. And after scouting some more players, we were able to find plus 10 overall gem quarterback Mark Mitchell, and right now no one's going for him, so we're going to try to steal him going into the last half of this season. We were also able to find this gem at cornerback going up 7 overalls, and a decent JUCO running back at a 77. With us sitting at a 1-9 record and having an 0-8 conference record, I think the best thing for us now is to just simulate the rest of the season and get into the offseason. Well, and just like that, it looks like we're getting fired for the first time in this rebuild, as we finished with our 1 lone win against that FCS school early on in the season. And just like that, Buster Biggs II was created. Now, the biggest problem with being fired is that we have to start back at level 3 every single time that happens, including our offensive and defensive coordinator starting at level 1. Now, we do have tons of people leaving, including some of our best players, so hopefully I move the points around accordingly and we're able to get these last 5 players off of our recruiting board that we really need, including these 78 overall players. And after simulating to signing day, it looks like we're going to be able to get 4 of those 5 players. We did lose out on the running back and a right end though. Even though we did lose out on some big players that I would have liked to have gotten, this class looks really good, especially with us only being able to recruit players that are under 3 stars. Some of the big names of this class are 81 overall middle linebacker Brett Horner, Mark Mitchell, who may be our starting quarterback coming into 79 overall, and us getting a 78 overall tight end is perfect timing, as they're going to be able to progress together over the next 4 years. It should also be mentioned that we got a 78 overall athlete who will most likely be a receiver, and 2 really good cornerbacks to help out that secondary, along with a 73 overall free safety. And we surprisingly finished with the 57th best class in the nation, again with only being able to recruit up to 3-star prospects. I'm really proud of this class, actually. And this is what our team looks like after training results going into year number 2, with our star quarterback being a 90 overall. I'm actually extremely surprised that everyone jumped up this high. And with us only having JC French for 2 more seasons, I think I'm going to redshirt our new freshman quarterback, and hopefully he doesn't transfer out with me doing that. I'm also going to redshirt our 78 overall wide receiver Warren Walker, along along with our new 78 overall tight end. Again, I hope none of these guys transfer, but if they don't, this will be perfect because they'll be able to progress the next 4 years after that. And with us having yet to win a bowl game, we're only going to be allowed to still recruit 3-star caliber players or lower. The biggest thing that I want to focus on this season is bolstering our offensive line, along with filling that gap that we're going to have a strong safety going into next season. And during this first round of recruiting, we were able to find 8 different players that went up in overall and were all gyms. And if we get even half of these guys, our offensive line is going to be looking really good. Yeah, this strength of schedule is going to be looking really rough every single year. It's honestly probably going to be years until we're able to compete with some of these top teams. With our current roster looking like this with a lot of players above 80 overall, including being led by 90 overall quarterback JC French, it's no surprise that our overall jumped up 12 points from last season, being at 84 now. Even with that jump in overall, I expect us to win maybe 2 games at most if we're lucky in the conference. I still don't think even that's going to happen. But at least over the next couple years, the game is actually expecting us to progress. And honestly, the biggest thing for us is trying to get at least 6 wins this season so we can become bowl eligible and get that first bowl win, which would make recruiting a lot better because we would actually be able to go for these high level talent players. And starting things off with a simulation win is a great way to go into year number 2. But traveling to Auburn, that's kind of what I expected for that game. Back to earth. And against Ole Miss at home, we're going to suffer the same fate, barely losing though. That does give me some hope for the rest of the season. We might be able to get a couple conference wins. And against Georgia, we would suffer the same fate, only losing by less than a touchdown though. Recruiting has not been as kind to us though this year, as we are leading on some good players, including 77 overall tackle David Martinez, but I had to get rid of a lot of those gym players that we found earlier in the season because we were not going to get them. But after digging at the bottom of the barrel, I was able to find a couple good players for us to go after. And with us playing Mizzou next week, we're going to simulate our second game against the FCS team, and I definitely expect us to win this one, and we did by a big margin. Now at the progress we've made this season, we might be able to beat Mizzou this year, knocking off our first challenge of the video, but we also have some of our best recruits coming to visit this week. And so far, our team has been playing really well, and we have the chance to get on the board first, and we're going to roll to the left side. We're going to have nobody open. We're going to try to make the pass at the last second and get it over, and oh my gosh, what a play. Now, since that possession, our defense has fallen off, but in the third quarter, we're going to be able to get a big play and tie up the game yet again. After getting a stop on defense, we'd find ourselves in a crucial third down going into the fourth quarter. We're going to roll to the right side, and I think we're actually going to be able to get this first down here. This is going to be able to keep the drive alive, and if we can kill some time and get another touchdown, we're looking really good. After moving the ball pretty well and killing some time, we're going to look to get back in the lead, and we're going to be able to do that right now. Our defense has been doing well at stopping them so far, but on 4th and goal, this could be the last play of the game if we play this correctly, and they're going to throw the outside, and he's going to run out of bounds. That play would not only give us our first win against an SEC opponent, but it would also give us our first completed challenge of the video. Hopefully this will give us tons of momentum going into the next couple seasons. And we would have some decent prospects commit after that game as well. Can someone remind me why I decided to give myself a handicap when it came to recruiting in this rebuild? Because of that, I have to watch players like 5-star athlete Jim Taylor, who isn't being recruited by anyone, get picked up by somebody later on in the season, even though we'd be able to get him if we were able to. Now with that game giving us our first conference win of the season, we are actually sitting at a 500 record, but with 2 of those wins coming against FCS schools, I think we're going to have to win more than 6 games if we want to make it to a bowl. And if we're going to do that, we're going to have to win some games when it comes to simulation. And our game against Tennessee, we're going to absolutely demolish them. That is great, but our next 2 games are against top 5 opponents, and we still have number 18 Oklahoma later on in the season. Now, simulating our game against number 1 Florida, yeah, we got humbled for sure. Maybe we'll have better luck against number 4 South Carolina, and we're going to do better, but still lose by 14. We also have tons of players that are ready to visit, but I don't think we have any home games the rest of the season because I'm only able to schedule them for our next bye week. And so far at this point in the season, we currently have 5 decent prospects that have committed to our team. With us still being able to jump into 2 games, I'm going to simulate our game against Kentucky, considering they're 2-6, and hope we win. Now this is a big game against Kentucky because we need to win the last 3 games of the season, and we got throttled. Now with us losing that game, I don't think we're bowl eligible anymore because like I said earlier, we have 2 wins against FCS schools, so we would probably need at least 7 wins this season. So I'm going to go ahead and simulate the rest of the year. And after simulating later in the season, we have a lot more prospects that have committed to our team. And thankfully throughout this recruiting season, we were able to get a lot of players in the positions that we needed them, especially on the offensive line side of the things. Not to mention that we're still in battles for a lot of these players up here, and if it goes to the offseason, I think we could get a lot of them. And even though we finished the season 4-8, we weren't the last team in the SEC East. And this season has me confident for the future, especially with our quarterback only throwing 3 interceptions against an SEC schedule. After this year, though, we will be losing our number 1 running back, OJ Arnold, but thankfully our 2 top receivers are coming back for another season. And unfortunately, our JUCO middle linebacker that we recruited last year did not perform up to expectations as he finished 6th in tackling on the team. Now, we do have a decent amount of players that are trying to leave, including our star quarterback, and I'm going to try to get him to come come back one more year, and it looks like he's going to be able to do that. And my main reason for convincing him to stay is with hopes that we're going to make it to a bowl game next year and hopefully win it, thus getting rid of our recruiting restrictions. But until that happens, we're only going to be allowed to still recruit 3-star players, and our class rank did actually improve from last season, going from a 57 to a 52. And some of the position groups that we're going to be focusing on going into next year as our running backs are receivers, mainly because our top 4 receivers are all seniors. Hopefully being able to get some better cornerbacks, along with getting another good strong safety, because we're about to lose our best one. And in only a couple of years, look at how amazing this team is looking so far. I know we still have a long ways to go and we are competing in the SEC, but this is looking really good, especially with us only being able to get 3-star players. After finding some good recruits going into next season that hopefully we're going to be able to land, including 96 speed overall J. Paul. And after scouting some players going into year number 3, we found some good prospects that hopefully we can land throughout this season. Now with us having a 95 overall quarterback, I'm not going to start our freshman redshirt Mark Mitchell, because after last season I'm feeling pretty confident that we can get to at least 6 wins this year and hopefully win our bowl game so we can lift our recruiting restrictions. Now with us jumping all the way up to a 90 overall, it should be no surprise that we got our best ranking going into the preseason at 87th, but I'm expecting this team to do a lot more throughout this year. But even though our overall is jumping up, we're still playing teams that are in the high 90s, including some 99 overalls. But at least for the first time, we're not projected to finish last in the SEC, and it makes it even better that they're projecting the other Missouri team to finish below us. Even though we have a lot of difficult games later in the season, I think to get this season underway, I should jump into this game against Arkansas. And I'm really hoping these top players can lead us to 6 wins this year. Now, even though this is the first game of the season, if we can get a win here, that'd be huge momentum builder for the rest of the season. We're going to be able to tie it up going into the half. And late in the third, we are moving the ball down the field yet again. We're going to have a guy open over the middle and find him and get a touchdown, taking the lead. And with us up by 7 with only 2 minutes left in the game, if we're able to get another score here, I think this can put the game out of reach. That's exactly what happened, as we almost scored 50 points on an SEC opponent. That's a great way to start this season. And after simulating 2 more games, we would split them, beating Charlotte but losing to Mississippi barely. And I think I'm going to jump into this game against high overall Georgia, and that's mainly due to the fact that we have 7 players that I scheduled to visit this week. And with Georgia sitting at a 99 overall, this game's probably going to be extremely difficult, but luckily we're going to be able to get on the board first. From that point on, at the beginning of the game, this game has been back and forth all game long. It looks like we're going to be able to get on the board, tying it up. And after our defense got a stop, we're looking at maybe being able to go up for the first time since the first quarter, and we're going to be able to do that as long as he catches it. Thank you. Now, our defense would give up another touchdown, but as long as we make this kick here, we're going to get our first ranked win of the season. And beginning the season 3-1 is a great way to start off, and I think this actually was our first ranked win of the entire rebuild thus far. And that game convinced a ton of players to commit to our school, including 78 overall strong safety Pat Lehrer. I have no idea how to say that name. And after that victory, 4 games into the season, we're actually sitting at number 2 in the SEC East. But we do still have a lot of tough opponents coming up later on in the season. So really right now, I'm just focused on trying to get 6 wins this year, and hopefully against Utah State, we're going to be able to do that. And we actually lost to Utah State of all teams. Are you kidding me? They scored 28 points in the 4th quarter. I don't understand how we gave up 56 points to Utah State after beating ranked Georgia at home. That's unbelievable. And we would follow it up with a loss by 7 points to Mizzou. Now, I'm not really expecting us to make too much of a play at making the SEC championship, but with those 2 losses, we have to finish the rest of the regular season 3-3 if we want to make a bowl game. And with us only being able to jump into 1 more game, it's going to be difficult to decide who I want to do that against. After simulating 4 more games, we would split those games, bringing our record to a 5-5. And so far, our recruiting class is looking really good. It seems like we've been able to get all the positions that we needed to get this entire year. And with us being 1 win away from being bowl eligible, there's no way that I'm skipping this game against San Jose State. And to my surprise, our team is actually number 1 in the entire nation for passing. Now, I do think we could beat the Spartans if I was to send this game, but I'm not taking any chances. And maybe it was a good thing we jumped into this game, because we're only up by 14 points in the 4th quarter, and we're going to get a stop here on 4th down, and that should end the game. Now, this win should make us bowl eligible, and hopefully to make things even easier for us, we could beat Oklahoma on the road, and we're going to lose by 10, but we are 6-6. And taking a look at the season stats, our quarterback is currently leading the entire nation in passing yards, and it definitely helps that Josh Dallas is currently 2 yards away from 1,000 receiving yards. But now it's time to officially find out if we made it to a bowl game or not, and it looks like our most important game of the season is coming up against the Roadrunners in the Surf Pro Responder Bowl. This game is so important for the future of this rebuild. Now, even though I have jumped into 3 games already, I am allowed to jump into bowl games along with conference championships. But honestly, I don't even think this team needed me to jump into the game, as we put up 49 points against the Roadrunners, and we have officially won our first bowl game, officially knocking off another video goal. And it also means that we're going to start being able to go after these 5 stars going into next season. Now, it is great that we did win a bowl game, but we're going to be losing some of our best players, including the best player in Southeast Missouri State history, JC French. I mean, just look at these stats that he had over the years. His senior season, he did so good. And with that, him and his running mate, Marcus Sanders Jr., were both drafted into the NFL. And with the recruiting season officially over, we have signed sign 23 players in this class. That would help us attain our best class yet, just outside of the top 30, only being able to sign 3-star prospects. Some of the top prospects of this class include 78 overall strong safety Pat Lehrer, I still don't know how to say his name, 77 overall linebacker Matt Waters, 83 overall punter Terrence Turner, a 76 overall athlete, along with 2 75 overall defensive players to help us out. Now, taking a look at training results, our team has regressed from last season. At least we have senior running back David Mbadinga, and with JC French going to the league, the reins are finally being handed over to 87 overall quarterback Mark Mitchell. Let's see what he can do this year. Things will be a little bit more difficult for him as his best receiver is 85 overall, but thankfully this team is young with sophomores leading the way at wide receiver and tight end as well. Now, taking a look at the challenge list, with us finally winning a bowl game and being able to sign 4 and 5-star prospects, the next goal that I'm going to focus on is signing a top 20 class. Taking a look at our schedule this season, I don't expect us to do as good as we did last year, especially because it's going to take those new 4 and 5-star recruits that we hopefully get a couple years to develop into good players. But looking at our 4-year outlook, in a couple years, the game expects us to be a top 10 team, which is amazing. And to start this season, we are still sitting at a 90 overall, but there's no way we're going to be able to compete with the talent of Alabama and other SEC schools this year. That's why I'm going to simulate these first couple games, and hopefully we can maybe pull off the upset, and we got demolished by Bama, which I expected. And unfortunately, the losing wouldn't end there, as we would lose the first 3 games of our season. Against East Carolina, we were able to stop the bleed, though, as we were barely able to beat them by 7 points. And with us playing our in-state rival at home, this is the perfect time for a lot of our players to visit. This game will also allow us to get a glimpse into some of our new players, including Mark Mitchell, and he's off to a pretty good start. And that was a great catch by our sophomore tight end Jamal Rucker. This game so far has been completely in our favor, as we've been dominating both sides of the ball, and we're going to continue that here. After going up by 21 early in the first half, the Tigers were not able to answer back the rest of the game. We would go on to absolutely destroy them. There would also be more good news after that game, as we had 3 4-star players commit after that one, and our winning streak from there would end against Tennessee. Now, with only 3 games left of the season, we're currently sitting at 3-6 record, which is pretty much what I expected going into this year. The only thing that worries me is my job security, and so far it's at 100%, but if we keep doing bad this year and going into next year, that could start dropping. Not too much more has happened on the recruiting side of things besides us getting a couple high overall players to commit. But we're currently in battles for several players, including 2 5-star athletes. Honestly, at this rate, it looks like we're going to get both of them, which is amazing. Going into the last couple weeks of the season, I'm just going to simulate this game against LA Tech, and we're going to actually lose that one by 3 points. That's a tough loss. With that loss against LA Tech, I'm just going to simulate our last game against Oklahoma, and we did not have a good year this year. Now, with us performing poorly this season, I am okay with that because this was more of a filler season, but we're going to need Mark Mitchell to step up going into his last 2 years. It's definitely not going to help that we're going to lose our best player in Mbadinga, but thankfully his top 2 targets are both sophomores. On the defensive side of things, our top 3 tacklers are all seniors, so we're going to be losing them. But with us finishing the season 3-9, we're going to have our worst season in quite a while, but at least we're still above Missouri somehow, because we did beat them earlier this year, and Tennessee looked really bad. It should also be worth mentioning that we have completely maxed out our recruiting, so now we are starting to put points into game management. If we get fired, we're going to be screwed going into the future, because having to reset all these levels is going to take a long time to get back to where we're at. And taking a look at the players that are graduating, we aren't losing too many, but we are losing some of our star players. And unfortunately, I was unable to convince these 2 freshmen to stay due to playing time. Now, that will be a blow to our team, but hopefully we're able to get some of these top level prospects to take over their spots. After advancing to signing day, it looks like we're going to have 4 more players commit to the team, and that'll give us a total of 13 players that have committed to this team. And some of our best players are the 78 overall 4-star athlete and our first 5-star commit in Jared Wilson, who is also another athlete. Our class would lead to us signing 17 players, and with 10 of them being 4-star prospects or better, we finished with the 2nd best class in the entire nation. This would mean that we'd complete another challenge, absolutely dominating this goal. Now, this is always the best part, looking at the training results, and it looks like we're basically where we were last year. Thankfully, our top 3 players are all juniors, but in order for this team to compete in the SEC, we're going to need to make a lot of adjustments these next couple years. And unfortunately for us, a lot of our position groups are pretty young, which is good for the future, but there are some positions that don't have that high of overalls. Have I mentioned that it is extremely nice being able to recruit 4 and 5-star players? Just look at some of the talent that we have available to us. Hopefully we can get some of them though. And our strength of schedule may be a B, but just look at 3 of these first 4 games. We originally had this game planned out for week 5, but I wanted to move it to week 1 because we have 3 straight opponents that are all ranked. We're going to need at least 1 game under our belt before we play against them. I don't know why they keep giving me Bama so early in the season. Yet again, our team didn't go up much in overall because it's sitting at a 90. But I think the game understands the vision, because look at what it's projecting us to be in just a couple years, being a top 10 and a top 5 team. Hopefully after this season, because I'm not expecting to do that well this year, we could jump up and actually hit those projections. Oh, in case you're wondering, we're still projected to finish bottom 3 in the SEC. Not surprised by that. Honestly, even though our team isn't the highest overall, I'm looking forward to the next couple years, because we do have a lot of seniors up here, but there's also a lot of sophomores and juniors that haven't hit their peak yet. But anyways, we're going to get into this first week, and hopefully we get off to a good start against the FCS School, which we should, and we did. Now, I will be looking to play one of these first 3 ranked games, but I want to see how the team does against Bama through simulation, and we're actually only going to lose by 7. That has me kind of confident that maybe we'll beat some other teams on simulation later in the year. Now, I did want to jump into this game against Ole Miss, but since they lost, they're no longer ranked. I'm going to jump into the game next week against Georgia. Maybe we'll be able to win, and we did. This is looking good so far. And we're going to jump into our first game of the season against the much higher ranked Georgia Bulldogs. It seems like the biggest problem with our team is our defense, as they are ranked 109th in the nation. Well, even with the crowd filling out the stadium, this game is not going good as we find ourselves down 21 points, and it has not been good. Mark Mitchell's been making some bad throws today. Well, if this game proved one thing, it shows that we are not ready to match up to the talent of the SEC, and we need to make better throws than that. Come on. Like, I expected us to lose, but I expected a little bit of a performance. After simulating some games and sitting at a 3-4 record a little over halfway through the season, I'm going to try to focus on us getting 3 more wins so we can hopefully have another bowl game. Maybe we can get 1 game closer to that, and we do by beating 6-1 South Carolina. And we're going to look to keep that winning streak going against Kentucky, and we're going to do the complete opposite, getting killed. Now, with 3 games left on the schedule, I am still able to jump into 2 of them, but with us being a much higher overall than UAB, I'm going to simulate to next week and expect to win, and we got 1. And since we only have 2 games left in the season, I can still jump into both games. I'm going to go ahead and do that against both these opponents, even though I probably don't need to against UNLV because of the overall difference, but I'm not taking any chances. And I did simulate most of this game because there was no way I was going to be able to play with these conditions. I have no idea why this is happening, but we're going to get a touchdown somehow. And before we jump into our last game of the season, it's time we take a look at recruiting for the first time in a while, and we only have 5 recruits that have committed so far this season. We are still in the race for a lot of players that haven't committed yet, and we're in the battles for most of them, but I'm not too worried about it as I'm expecting a lot of these players to commit, and as long as we could take these 2 top guards to the offseason, I think we have a good chance of taking both of them. And in case you're wondering what the downfall of our team has been so far, just look at the defense, 104th in the nation. We're giving up as many points as we're scoring. That is terrible. And let me tell you, it is nice to see grass again after that game against UNLV last week. And so far in this first half, this game has been rough as we only have 2 points to our name. It's kind of pathetic, I know, but we're going to get on the board finally with a touchdown. And on 3rd down with the game tied in the 4th quarter, this is a crucial stop, and we're going to get the hit, and perfect. And simulating the field goal, they actually missed. And that missed field goal will be exactly what we needed for us to go drive down the field and get the game-winning field goal. And with us winning that game, we should now be bowl eligible, and it looks like we're playing Colorado State in the LA Bowl. Now, with us being a much higher overall, I think I'm just going to simulate this one, so hopefully we can get a win to get some momentum going into next season. And that's exactly what we're going to do, is we beat Colorado State by 9 points. Now, due to graduation, we are going to be losing some good players, and we even lost 3 freshman transfers, which is going to hurt pretty bad. But thankfully, I was able to convince Mark Mitchell and Jamal Rucker, our 2 best players, to stay instead of going to the draft. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get as good of a class as we had last year, but we were still able to fill some holes on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And with our training results coming in, I'm actually feeling confident that we may even be able to contend for a conference championship this year, but I may be getting ahead of myself. But with Mark Mitchell coming in at a 99 overall, we're going to need him to drastically improve in his last season here at Southeast Missouri State. It also doesn't help that outside of Mark Mitchell, our 3 top offensive players are all seniors. This is what our schedule looks like going into the next season, and honestly, I feel pretty confident. We don't have as many ranked teams as we normally do, and we may be able to actually do something with this year. Now, the game is projecting us to finish near the top 25 this year, and that's mainly due to our high-powered offense sitting at a 99 overall. We're projected to finish 4th on our side of the SEC, but honestly, if we get lucky enough, I could see us playing at an SEC championship at the end of the season. But again, we have to get really lucky. And to start things off, I'm going to simulate our first game against Colorado State, and we demolish them. And we stack up pretty well against LSU, so I'm going to simulate this game as well and hope for the best, and we beat them by 13. This is a great start to the season. And with that win, we've officially become ranked for the first time in this rebuild. We have come so far over these last several seasons. But with more difficult games coming on later in the season, I'm going to have to hope that we could beat Ole Miss in the sim. We are home, so we're looking pretty good, and we're going to beat them by a lot. We're looking really good. And we are absolutely going to be jumping into our next game against number 5 Georgia. We are on the road, so this will be more difficult. But so far, this game has been all Redhawks as we were up 18 in the 3rd quarter, and we're looking to go up by even more, and we're going to be up 28-3 now. From that point on, a lot more points will be scored, but we handled Georgia on the road. And with our next game being against an FCS school, it's no surprise that we won. Against our in-state rivals, we would get another win by 14 points. And halfway through the season, we're currently sitting at 2nd on our side of the SEC, with the pivotal matchup against Florida coming up in 2 weeks. It should also be mentioned that Mark Mitchell is currently leading the Heisman watch. But with so much of the season left, we just have to focus on winning, and hopefully against Tennessee we could do that, and we win by 28 points. Now, I don't want to jinx anything right now, but with the current trajectory that we're on for this season, we can complete every single video challenge we have for the rest of this, and that's going to be crucial because we have a lot of players that are leaving after this year, including our number 1 player, Mark Mitchell. We're going to focus on the game that's in front of us right now, as we're playing the #1 team in the nation, the Florida Gators. As you may have saw, we jumped up to number 3 in the nation, and just look at how good our offense and our defense have been producing this year. Now the conditions are bad for this game, but luckily we are home, so hopefully we can get something going, and we're going to get on the board first. So with our defense getting another stop, we have a chance to go up by multiple possessions for the first time in this game, and we're going to find our guy on the left side and get right in. It's great to see the connection that Warren Walker and Mark Mitchell have created over the last couple seasons. From that point on, throughout the rest of the game, we have been controlling both sides of the ball, and with 50 seconds left and there's a 4th and down conversion, we're going to actually get the stop and we're going to win this game. That game would not only put us at number 2 in the nation, but it would put us number 1 on our side of the SEC. But since I've jumped into 2 games already, we only have 1 more we could jump into, and thankfully these records aren't looking the best, but I'm still nervous to simulate all of these games. But there's no time like the present, and our game against South Carolina is going to be another victory. Our next game is going to be on the road against Kentucky, but I'm feeling confident that we'll get our 10th win of the season, and we're going to do just that. And going up against the Owls, I expect the same result as the other previous 10 games, and we're going to get another victory, meaning we have 1 game left of the season. And thankfully, I still have 1 more game that I could jump into this season, and with them being a high overall, this is going to be a good one. Now with this game, not only are we looking to clinch an undefeated season, but we're also looking to clinch our spot in the SEC championship. And in a crucial 3rd down, it looks like they're going to hand it off up the middle. I don't know what they're thinking here, but he broke a couple tackles. They're probably going to have the 1st down, but he's going backwards, and we're going to get the tackle, hopefully behind. 4th and inches, I can't believe it. I have no idea how we were able to stop the Sooners there, but we're just lucky they're only getting a field goal. Now with them only getting 3 on that possession, all we need is a field goal to win this game, and we're going to try to get that, but we need some better throws from Mitchell if we're going to do that. And on a crucial 4th down, we're going to go for it, and we're going to find Elliott Dawson over the middle. Good throw. We got the 1st down. And with us getting a couple more 1st downs, we were able to drive all the way down the field, and even though we didn't get a touchdown on that play, we're going to be able to go down and kick the game-winning field goals, meaning that the Redhawks have officially completed an undefeated regular season going against SEC opponents. And what's crazy is that the SEC championship is against the top 2 teams in the nation, with us going against #1 Auburn Tigers. And it has been a long journey, but we have finally made it to the SEC championship. And it wouldn't be until we're down by 6 late in the 3rd quarter for us to get back in the red zone, and we're hoping to cap off this drive here and take the lead back. And now in the 4th quarter, with only 3 minutes left, we find ourselves with the ball, and if we play this accordingly, we can kill out the rest of this clock. And if we are able to convert on this 3rd down right here, we're going to win this game. And if we have someone open on the left side, just make the throw perfect, and we're going to win this thing. And it has been a long time coming, but Buster Biggs II has finally won the SEC championship with the Redhawks. And from looking at this score, you could tell this game was dominated by the defense the entire time. That game would also mean that we knocked off another challenge. But why should we stop there, as Mark Mitchell finished as 2nd in the Heisman voting, and the Redhawks also made it to the playoffs, knocking off 2 more of our goals. This officially leaves only 1 more goal for us to complete. But before doing that, we're going to look at the season stats from Mark Mitchell, and he put up almost 50 passing touchdowns on only 7 interceptions. He would also lead the nation in passing by over 400 yards, and his running mate Warren Walker would finish 7th in the nation with receiving yards. Ira Jackson also came extremely close to getting to 1,000 yards. And just look at this duo between Warren Walker and our tight end Jamal Rucker, who should be at 1,000 receiving yards after we play through the playoffs. And on the defensive side of the ball, our top 3 players were all juniors or sophomores. But now it is officially time for us to start the playoffs, and thankfully we have a bye week in the 1st week. And with us playing the winner of Stanford or Penn State, we're going to go ahead and simulate this game and see who wins. And it looks like Penn State was able to hold off Stanford in the 4th quarter, winning by 3 points. So this is what the playoffs look like following the 1st round, and there was a key upset with Alabama losing to Houston in the 1st round, but we got to focus on Penn State right now. And going into this one, we actually stack up pretty evenly. And like most games this season, we're going to be relying on our offense to get the job done, and hopefully we can get on the board first. If we roll to the left side, we're going to barely be fast enough, and we're going to get in with Mark Mitchell. And this is a big aspect to his game that I haven't shown off that much in this rebuild. And so far in this 1st half, it has been all Redhawks, and after getting tons of blocks, we're going to be able to go up by multiple possessions. Now I would like to say that this game has been a back and forth showdown, but we have controlled the tempo throughout the majority of this one. And with that 1st down, we're going to get the 1st win of the playoffs. And that was a good way to start our playoff run. And it looks like going into the 3rd round of the playoffs, we're going to be having a matchup against the Auburn Tigers. And the winner of our game is going to be taking on Notre Dame for the championship. Now we've beaten them once, so I know we could do it again. And I'll be interested to see if this is another defensive showdown like the 1st one, or if the offenses are going to come alive. And just like our last game, our offense is moving down the field on their 1st possession, and if we could score here, we can get on the board first. So we're going to find Warren Walker on the left side and barely squeeze that in. That was way too close. And in big games like this, big decisions have to be made, as it's 4th down, but we're going to go for it early on in this game. And if we make this pass here, we're going to get the 1st. Perfect. And it looks like our risk is going to pay off, as we're going to go up by 2 possessions. Almost throwing a pick there. That was way too close. From that point on, our team would turn it on both sides of the ball, and in the 4th quarter on 4th down, we're going to try to get a sack here, and that's exactly what we did. And we would run out the rest of the clock, leading to us making it to the national championship. And the stage is officially set in Indianapolis as the 15-0 Redhawks take on the 13-1 Fighting Irish. And even though they're a well-balanced team on both sides of the ball, we have the 1st and 5th best defense in the nation this year. Now this game has not started off as well as the other 2 games, as we are currently down by 10 points in the 2nd quarter, and we're going up to the left side, and we have to get a 1st down here, otherwise we're going to be stopped again, and we're barely going to get it. I don't know how I got that 1st down. That was crucial in keeping the change going, because we need to score on this possession because of how bad we've been so far. And what a catch by Warren Walker. I gotta tell you, I absolutely love when the AI bails me out. That was an insane catch. And on 1st and goal later on in the drive, we're gonna find Jamal Rucker right open. Fast forward to the second half, we still find ourselves down by 10 points, needing another touchdown, and Warren Walker's gonna be our best target that we can go to, and he just made that guy look silly. And with 2 minutes left in the game, we find ourselves needing to drive all the way down the field and get a touchdown to score. And on the first play, we're gonna find Jamal Rucker. What a play to start the drive. That was a dangerous throw, and I'm not even kidding. I thought that I blew the game on the very first play of this possession, but we need Mark Mitchell to make that throw. And with us moving down the field, we're gonna try to burn some clock here as well, making this the final possession, and we're gonna have to live and die by the touchdown. If we don't get it, we're gonna lose, but we don't want them having any time to recuperate. And on 2nd and 3, we're gonna keep things on the ground for this play because we still have time to do both of that, and we're actually gonna have a wide open lane, and we're gonna get into the end zone. And that touchdown was able to take us over the top as we got the 1-point victory over Notre Dame. And what a way to end Mark Mitchell's career. And this will be the official end of the most difficult rebuild that I have done on the channel so far. I did not expect this to be as difficult as it was. But taking a look at our challenge sheet, we have completed every goal for the video, turning an FCS school from nothing into a FBS powerhouse in the most difficult conference in the game, the SEC. You can definitely say this was a successful rebuild, and I hope you all enjoyed. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next one. I can't wait for the new game to come out in a couple weeks.